and they had one power rack. And so I'm never gonna squat or bench press outside of a power rack because most of the time I'm just by myself, so I don't have a spotter. So, I want those steel safety pins to keep the bar from crushing me if there's any mistake.
Welcome, everybody, to the DH Pickleball Show. My name is Mike Behrens, where every week I sit down and I talk to my good buddy, my good buddy David Henry, about how he is redefining what it means to be a senior pickleball player by crushing the stereotypes that come with being a senior pickleball player. I definitely butchered it. I told him I was gonna, but in this episode, we're going to talk about we're going to talk about one of those stereotypes and about strength and conditioning and senior pickleball players doing strength and conditioning. So we're going to get into that in a little bit. But first, let's check in with David and talk to him and see how he's doing. How are you, man?
Hey, doing pretty well. As we talked about before we got on recording, it was the internet scared all of Ohio that we were going to have the worst thunderstorms and tornadoes in the history of mankind today, and nothing materialized. So because of that, I am good. I'm good. What about you?
Awesome. I'm good, man. Isn't that usually how it works? You fear for the worst with the weather, and then it just changes last minute.
Yeah, for sure. But again, better than having it happen.
Yes, definitely. I'm doing pretty well. I'm excited for tonight's conversation because, as you know, and maybe the listeners don't know, strength and conditioning is something that is very near and dear to my heart. And I've spent a lot of time in the fitness industry, and so I love talking to you about it. We have talked a little bit about your strength and conditioning before. I believe it was episode 11 where we talked about that. So we got a little bit into it, but we're going to pick up kind of where we left off with that, get a little more in depth and kind of recap with your injury and how that's been your training over the time. So, but let's start with, why are you strength and conditioning training right now? Because I'm pretty sure seniors, most of them aren't doing that. Like if we're going to break some stereotypes here, most stereotypical seniors that play pickleball aren't going to be strength and conditioning. So, is that fair of me to say that most don't?
Yeah. I think that's completely fair. I would say the strength part, probably very few doing that. And if so, they're not maybe doing it the way that I'm doing it, which is more barbell stuff with plates and things like that. And we'll get into all that. The conditioning piece, sure. I mean, I'm sure a lot of senior pickleball players, even at all levels, are probably doing some sort of conditioning work in addition to playing pickleball, whether that's walking, jogging, swimming, riding a bike, something like that. So conditioning probably, yeah. But then also, I mean, I guess I kind of break it into three categories now. It's really, I guess, strength work, the conditioning work, and then what I would call, I guess, power work, which is like to get more explosive, to be more explosive on the court and those type of things. And so, I mean, it's kind of gray when you move strength and conditioning and power. They kind of all go together. But I guess that's kind of how I've compartmentalized it in my mind. And sure, on the power piece, I doubt there's that many senior pickleball players doing power work.
Well, and two, my guess is, and this is me making general assumptions here, is most people playing senior pickleball probably didn't, because like strength and conditioning is one of those things that is relatively new in the world of fitness. I mean, like in my dad's generation, which my dad's a lot older than you are, but like he didn't have strength and conditioning. They just lifted weights or whatever it was, and so it's kind of a newer thing. And so the strength and conditioning piece, some people might not even know what we're talking about when it comes to strength and conditioning. So you mentioned just a couple things, but in episode 11, we kind of got into it a little deeper. But let's kind of give people a recap of what that was in episode 11. I believe I do remember, and you left me a note. Thank you for that. You did say that your strength and conditioning was piss poor when you started doing it. So let's recap a little bit about how you started with the strength and conditioning coach, how you got into it, all this kind of stuff, and how that was working for you back then. And then we'll kind of pick up where we're at now after you recap.
Yeah. And I won't go too in depth because people can watch 11, but definitely want to recap it from the standpoint of, prior to finding pickleball a couple years ago, for a decade, I did nothing but barbell strength training. So I
Mm.
did zero conditioning, you know,
Sure.
and the type of barbell conditioning I was doing was like heavier stuff. And again, I always have to say, you know, heavy is a relative term. Like heavy,
Sure.
heavy for me, you know, as a 5'8" on a good day, small framed guy, you know, is doing heavy for me. But heavy lifting sets of 5, like 3 by
Mm.
5 and stuff like that. So I mean, I was getting even zero cardio even in my lifting. Like I mean, it was
Sure.
just lifting. So that was, you know, 10 years prior to pickleball. So, you know, no conditioning. So then when, start playing pickleball. Yeah, the conditioning was piss poor. I mean, it was bad. I was sucking wind out there on the court, and you know, my conditioning was just awful because I just hadn't done it. And then,
Sure.
you know, I would say in the first 6 months of playing pickleball too, I'd even gotten away from the strength training, so I was just, you know, really focused on playing and everything. So when I went to play my very first tournament about 6 months in, I think that's when I actually used the term piss poor to describe my conditioning for that tournament, because I hadn't been doing much conditioning for the 10 years leading up to it. And then I'd kind of even dropped off a little bit of my strength training. So I was probably at the worst shape of my life. And so I just couldn't go on with that. And
Sure.
so one of my buddies, he kind of works with Coach Todd. Denny is my buddy, and Coach Todd and he work together. They've got an online like strength training system, set the
Yeah.
bar training systems for guys like 40 and over who used to be athletes and are looking to get their fitness back. And so I got started working with them. And the first thing they did was get me on a program called 42, and it was 42 days, so 6 weeks basically
Okay.
was what 42 is. And 42 Unleash the Beast type of program, and it was all body weight work. So it was
Awesome.
circuits. So it was all
Love it.
circuits of body weight work. Yeah, and I loved it. And I mean, it really, really kicked my butt, you know. And it was really, I think it was just it was 15-minute circuits, you
Hmm.
know. Basically, you try to get as much done, see how far you can go into it, you
Yeah.
know, in 15 minutes. So it was really, it was one of two things. It was either to get through, I forget, 5 circuits maybe, or 15 minutes, whichever came first, you
Got it.
know. And so yeah, so it was great for me. It was exactly what I needed to just start getting in shape. And because of the body weight, you're doing a little bit of strength work, a little bit, you know, but
Sure.
a lot of conditioning. And so that was kind of the first phase. So then I signed on to work with Coach Todd for a full year at that point after 42. And then he got me more on some strength training, which I think that's kind of where we left it in episode 11. I was just starting that. And so
Hmm.
basically I was doing some some upper body sessions, and some lower body sessions. And this is always using the barbell strength training equipment, all that I have in my basement. And you know, on the upper days, like for example, you know, I'm doing bench press, overhead press, row, curl, and LTEs or skull
Mm.
crushers. And and what Coach Todd had me doing at first, and then I he doesn't know this, but I modified it a little bit. I mean, he's crazy strong and crazy in shape, and he's also about 5 years younger than me. So I modified what he had me doing. So he was having me doing first set of 12, then a set of 8 going up in weight. I'm sorry, then a set of 10 going up in weight, then a set of 8 going up in weight, then a set of
Mm.
6 going up in weight, and then a set of 12 at the 10 rep weight.
Yep.
Just killer. You know,
Yep.
and I did that for a while, but I mean, you know, I always heard like volume is tough on older guys.
Sure.
You know, where intensity of the weight is not as tough, but volume, it can just be brutal on older
Hmm.
guys. And so, I mean, it wasn't brutal on me, but it was hard. It was hard.
Sure.
So basically, I modified it to be 10, 8, 6, 4. And then when I do that final set of 12, it's 80% of what I started. Still
Got it.
hard,
Yeah.
still hard, but
Yeah.
really like it. It really works well for me. And so I did that. And then the lower portion was squat, deadlift, sit ups, and farmer carries. It's kind of
Mm.
the lower portion. And so I was really doing that. But then after episode 11 that we didn't talk about, then he added in what I call the power work. And so I bought an 8 pound big med ball from Rogue
Mm.
Fitness, and we'll talk
Sure.
about some of that later, I think, in the equipment. But I bought that, and then I bought the box. So
Oh,
to do box jumps.
yeah,
So
plyometric
um,
box. Yep.
yeah, and it's got 3 different heights. So
Yep.
based on how you lay the box, you got 3 different heights of the jump. I use the lowest right now, but it's still hard. It's still hard, and so I'm doing the box jumps and everything, and it's great. And then I I made, this is funny. I made an agility ladder. So he wanted me
Oh,
doing like agility ladder work, like a lot of the soccer guys do. A lot of
yeah.
soccer guys do a ton of agility ladder work. And so I made one, and it worked out perfect. It's a cool agility ladder that I made, and but yeah, so he got me doing all kinds of power work, in addition to strength and in addition to conditioning, and even when I do my strength workouts, I start them with a real small, brief little power circuit.
Oh, okay.
And then I move into my strength work. And then I have other days where I'm just doing like power circuits. So yeah, it's
Got it.
so much fun.
Got it. So I mean, so that's the current training that you're doing.
Yeah, well that was probably from where episode 11 left off
Oh, okay.
to
Gotcha.
when I quit playing in November because of what we
Got it.
talked about in last episode with my hand and wrist tendonitis.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. So how did you work out through that? What was the strength and conditioning like during rehab of the injury and coming back from the injury?
Yeah, so I didn't want to give up any conditioning and agility. I want to do everything I could while I wasn't
Yeah.
playing. Okay. But at first, I couldn't do the strength work. I just couldn't
Mm,
put my
sure.
wrist under pressure with the bar, and so I
Yeah.
couldn't do the strength work. But I was doing conditioning and I was doing those power workouts like crazy.
Ah,
Every single day. And then on
got it.
Sundays I would do like a little bit of active recovery where I just
Nice.
go at a pretty easy pace. But yeah, the and the so what I would do a lot of times with that is what it would look like for me was that I would do um, a green zone, which is kind of like you're still aerobic, you're not anaerobic yet. So I
Mhm.
do a green zone on the treadmill. So it was like a fast, brisk, inclined walk on the treadmill. I'd do that for about 20 minutes. Then I would go and do 5 of the power circuits.
Mm,
And so the power circuit started off with med ball throws. So, either chest passes or overhead, or you're throwing the med ball down on the floor, or you're doing the sideways throw with the med ball. So
yeah.
started off doing that. Then I would do like I would go to the box jumps. And so I would do the 5 box jumps, as I jump up on that box. And then he even had me then stepping off the box
Mm,
and landing.
yeah.
He said
Nice.
it just hits differently, and it
Yep.
does. It,
Sure
it
does.
does. I was doing that. Then I would do a little bit of plank or sit up type of work, and then I would move to the agility ladder. And
Got it.
I would do 10, meaning down the ladder was 1, back was 2. Down the ladder
Mm.
was 3, back was 4. So I did 10 of the agility ladder, and then I would take like a minute break, and then I would do that whole circuit again. And I'd take a minute. I'd do that 5 times, and the agility ladder kicks my ass. It
I
does.
bet it does.
It
Wow.
does. It does. And he gave me a great video, a YouTube video of some soccer player who gives all kinds of different moves, I guess, that you can do on the agility ladder.
Oh, cool.
Different footwork, different patterns, for your
Yeah.
footwork on there. And then the piece that I'm adding to my power workout now that my wrist is a little bit better, at the very end of that, then I'm going to do power cleans with the bar.
There
But
you
I
go.
couldn't do power cleans obviously with the wrist flexion, with my hand and wrist tendonitis. But I'm going to add that now.
Is that from Todd saying that, or is that you? Okay, got it. Got
Yeah,
it.
yeah. He had always had kind of power cleans as part of those power
Hmm.
circuits. I just
Yeah,
couldn't do it the entire time my wrist,
got
was
it.
sore. So yeah, so now I'm gonna do that. And and then I would have some days where I just do green conditioning. So I do a half an hour of base work, just building my aerobic base, and things like that. And yeah, so I did all of that for maybe, I don't know, a month or a little bit longer until I could finally start lifting a little bit with my wrist.
Got it.
So then I got back into doing, once I could do all my lifting and power, what it would look like. I actually wrote it down what it would look like. So Monday would be a very short power work and then strength. so like lower. Let's say it was a
Okay.
week that I did lower. So Monday was power plus strength lower. Tuesday would be green conditioning. So that was my treadmill walk for like 20 minutes. And then the power circuits, the 5 circuits that we just talked about.
Yeah.
Then on Wednesday would be brief power and strength upper.
Okay.
Then Thursday would just be conditioning. So I would do a half an hour of just green zone conditioning and nothing else. Then Friday would be power workout plus strength lower. So basically, I'm doing lower, upper, lower for strength. And then the next week would be upper, lower, upper. So just
Got it.
alternating that. Then on Friday would be conditioning for 20 minutes, green zone, and then power, and then the power circuits again. So I'm sorry, that's Saturday, and then on Sunday was active recovery.
Nice. Nice. That's full on,
So
man.
it's full on, full on.
That's pretty
Full
intense. That's good, man. There's not a lot
on,
of
yeah.
non-senior pickleball players that probably work out 6 days a week like that.
Yeah. And I don't hit 7 days every week, but
Yeah.
I do a lot of weeks.
Yeah.
I had a really good run from like mid-December through the end of January. It was it was on. Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Dude, that's great. I bet that makes you feel like $1,000,000.
Yeah, it does. And for whatever reason, I mean, you might even know better, the physiological reason, whatever, but the power work, like the box jumps and the med ball throws and the agility ladder, like it's killer while you're doing it. But
Mhm.
when you're done, man, you feel like $1,000,000. Like
Oh, yeah.
an hour or so later, I don't know if it's endorphins or I don't know what it is, but man, power work just makes you feel like $1,000,000.
Well, it's something that, with the testosterone boosting effects that come with that, the more strength you can do, the more power you can do, the more naturally it's just going to help with testosterone because
Okay.
it just makes you feel like a man, like it just makes you feel good. And for women too. I mean, if there's women listening to this, you can do power work
Sure.
too, but like for guys, senior guys, doing power work and doing strength training and stuff like this, that's some of the best stuff that you can do for long-term health, whether you're playing pickleball or not, like
Sure,
it's just
sure.
great health stuff. So yeah, I mean that I'm sure that that's a huge part of why you're feeling good from it because it just does. It makes you stronger. It even will alleviate some of the stresses on your body too because your muscles are stronger. So like to give an example for people, a lot of people as they get older have weak knees or bad knees, right? Your knees
Sure.
just get weak. Well, what you can do is through strength training and power training, you can build up all the muscles around your knee, which will then help alleviate some of the pain in your knee. And so
Sure.
you might have some severe joint pain, but and you can, maybe take some joint product to help with that or something like
Sure.
that, right? Which is fine and that could help. But let's get to the root cause. The root cause is that your leg muscles are probably really weak. And if you will focus on strengthening those leg muscles, just doing some free weight squats, body weight squats, it's going to help make your legs stronger and it'll alleviate some of that knee pain. It sounds
Sure.
for most people, like in my experience, it's most people are like, well, I can't do that. I can't bend like that. But the reality is you need to bend like that, and it makes you feel better.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely. Well, no, I mean, and that's a really good point what you said about knee specifically because I on my right knee will bother me at times
mm,
if I'm not doing squats. And
100%.
when I'm talking squats, I'm doing body weight squats, but I'm
Mhm.
also throwing the barbell on my back. I'm doing what's called a low bar back squat.
Yeah.
And I'm putting a barbell and plates on and I'm going down and I'm going below parallel, meaning that my hip, the crease of my hip is slightly below
Yep.
parallel to my knee. So just
Yep.
barely below parallel. I'm doing full squats. And what I find is that I have super tight hamstrings.
Mm.
And if I'm not squatting on a fairly regular basis, those hammies get tight. When those hammies get tight, they're such a big muscle that then they pull on your knee in an unequal way. And so they're putting undue
Mhm.
stress on your knee, and my knee starts hurting. And then
Mhm.
once I get back into squatting regularly, knee pain goes away.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it for everybody listening, I have been I've been working out for over 20 years, but I've been in the fitness industry helping thousands of people work out, live healthier, all this kind of stuff. David's proof, not from working with me, but from working with a strength and conditioning coach, that will help you feel better every single day, will help you live healthier and play better pickleball too, as you age. It's
Yeah,
super, super
absolutely.
important. So, all right. So I'll get off my soapbox on that for just a
No, it's
little
good stuff.
bit. But okay, so you're back training, your wrist is feeling better, you're back into the strength and conditioning, you're going to add in those power cleans, which is awesome because power cleans for pickleball is just that's just the best thing. I love it. I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
so how are you feeling now? I mean, we just talked about how you're feeling, I guess. How is it translating to the being back on the court now that you're playing again? Do you feel like you're noticing a huge difference? Did you not skip a beat when you got back on the court were you piss poor, or like where are you at with that?
Yeah. I certainly wasn't piss poor, for sure, and it helps me a ton. Helps me
Yeah.
a ton. I am in such better shape. I'm so glad that I continued with all that training, while I took the 4 months off. Now, I mean, I will say, like, I used to cycle a lot when I was a younger adult. So I didn't never race, but I taught spinning classes, like the indoor
Hmm.
cycling. I
Yeah.
taught those at a local YMCA, and this was probably like in my 25 to 35-year-old years. And and then I would ride outside on the road bike. So I would do, like, never races, but like metric centuries and century rides, go out and ride 100 miles, and then buddies, we'd ride 30, 40 miles on a weekend. I loved it. I love cycling. And what I would always say with cycling is that during the winter, you're training indoors on the spin bike or on a trainer, and the first time you go out on the road, you think you're in great shape because you're doing all this winter training. The first time you go out on the road, like, it's just totally different.
Yeah.
And
Sure.
that's how it was for pickleball. Like, I was doing in great shape with all this strength and conditioning and power work that I was doing. But the first time out, I'm like, yeah, it's different. But
Yeah.
it wasn't like bad at
Sure.
all. Like, just like, wow, this is different. But no, I'm in great shape through doing all that. And so I hit the court running, and it's been awesome. And the strength work, it's just, yeah. I mean, it's just in pickleball, you gotta get down low.
Mm.
You're down low a lot on your dinks and playing defense, and just to be able to do all that strength work, and this helps me so much with my movement on the pickleball court. And so, yeah, that's great. And then the power work, like the explosiveness, like pickleball is an explosive sport. Like you were doing, you're doing quick moves and bursts of speed, left, right, up, down. You're moving like crazy in pickleball with these bursts of speed and movement. And so the power work, I can see that that's really helping. So yeah, I would say that right now, even after the 4 months off, um, I would say from a physical fitness standpoint, I'm probably at the best that I've ever been. Certainly in the 2 years I've been playing pickleball, maybe in decades.
Wow. Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Very cool.
yeah. It's cool,
Very
bro.
cool. Okay, so where so you're back training, you're gonna add in those power cleans. What
Yeah.
is the next phase of strength and conditioning? I mean, is it just kind of we're at a coast, or are we up in the volume? Like, where are we going next with it?
Yeah. So now that I'm playing 2, 3 times a week right now, and it'll probably once it's not it's, what, April 2nd when we're recording this, so it's not super warm in Ohio
Mhm.
yet, and the spring winds are bad. So I'm not playing outside yet, but once summer comes, I'll probably be playing more in the 4 or 5 days a week range. And so when I'm playing, I'm not gonna do nearly as much of the, conditioning work on the treadmill, obviously,
Sure.
because I'm getting so much on the court. And then, I probably won't do as much of the power circuits, but
Mhm.
I'll still do them. But I'm really just going to focus on playing, and then I'm going to focus on, I want my 3 strength days in every week.
Mm.
So I want my lower, upper, or lower, upper, lower, whatever week I'm on. I want the 3 strength days for sure. But then I'm going to make sure I'm doing something every day. So, it may be strength on Monday, pickleball on Tuesday, strength on Wednesday, do some treadmill or power work on Thursday if I'm not playing. strength on Friday, maybe play on Saturday, do active recovery on Sunday. So I still want to get 7 days of something in of some sort of movement, exercise, training, or whatever every single day. But I'm going to be doing a lot more playing and still making sure I'm getting my strength work in. And then as far as the strength work, yeah, I'm continuing. Like Coach Todd was talking to me about, like maybe doing some a month or two of just like heavier work where I'm doing fewer reps but heavier weight.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I told him, I said, I really like kind of where it's going right now. Like I like the volume work that I'm doing, and I'm just continuing to add weight to the bar every week. So
Right.
every week, as long as I'm hitting all my reps the week prior, then I'm adding weight to the bar. I'm taking a jump every week. And if I hit all my reps that week, I'm taking another jump. So I'm just continuing to jump in weight, small increments. I'm not taking big jumps every week. I'm taking like 5-pound jumps most of the time,
Nice.
depending on the lift. I'm taking like
Yeah.
5-pound jumps a week, but
Progress is
nothing major,
progress.
but steady progress is kind of what I want. So yeah, so that's where I'm going, and plan to just continue doing that as long as I can.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, so where do you do the bulk of your training? I mean, do you have it set up at home or are you training in a gym?
I do everything in my basement.
Oh,
Everything in the
nice.
basement. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah, it is. When I got into barbell strength training, 10 years ago or whatever, I made sure I bought all the necessary home gym equipment.
Dude, that's great. Okay, so what's your setup? I mean, I love nerding out on equipment. So what's the setup you got
Yeah,
at
yeah,
your
yeah,
home
yeah.
gym?
Let me pull my notes so I don't miss anything. But yeah, I've got all kinds of great stuff. So, the majority of my equipment, I would say 95%, um, it is from a company called Rogue Fitness. So,
Ohio boy,
if it,
Ohio through and through.
Ohio. Rogue is based in Columbus, Ohio, which is about an hour and a half from me. And despite that proximity, I've actually ordered almost everything
Oh,
online. Yeah, but I have been there once when I bought some plates because we were already in Columbus, my wife and I, and so
yeah,
swung by Rogue and bought the plates because those plates would have cost me a ton in shipping. So
sure would.
it was good. But yeah, Rogue makes incredible, just durable, awesome strength training equipment.
Mhm.
You may even know better than I don't know if they got their start like in CrossFit or not, but they kind of cater to power lifters. They kind of cater to CrossFitters, probably even bodybuilders to a little bit of extent, maybe, but definitely power lifters and CrossFitters. And just great stuff from what I know. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
the
not an,
road
I'm not I'm not an expert at all in equipment, but I think Rogue is pretty high quality stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Rogue is definitely some of the best stuff that you can buy, and it's all made in the USA. It's all made in Columbus, Ohio. So like it's definitely great stuff. It is. I mean, it's a little pricier because it is made in the
Yes.
United States. So it's good quality stuff. I have a Rogue rack in my gym too. I've got one of the foldable racks. So like it's good quality equipment, and you won't go wrong with Rogue equipment at all. There's other competitors out there, but Rogue equipment is it's just good stuff. So you made a good choice, David.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So that's cool. So what's funny, the probably one of the very few pieces of equipment that I have that is not Rogue is my power rack. Because because rogue power racks are super expensive, and so when I was getting it started in barbell training, I'm like, I don't want to pay this much for a rogue rack because that's probably one of your most expensive pieces that you're going to buy. So
Sure.
I don't know. I bought something off of Amazon, but it is solid as can be. It's got the safety pins that I need to protect me from crushing myself when I'm doing bench press or squats inside the rack. And so that's one of the pieces. Then I have 4 barbells. So my very first barbell was kind of a starter, Rogue one, which was called the Rogue Bar 2.0. And it was great, and I used that for a while. Then I bought one. It's called the Rogue B&R bar, which stands for Mike Bergeneau and Mark Ripto, Bergeneau
Yep.
and Ripto. And I know probably a lot of people that watch pickleball may not know what we're talking about, but the knurling on that bar, it's a bare steel bar, and the knurling on that bar is just incredible. It's not too rough that it's going to tear up your hands, but it's not smooth enough that you're not going to have a good grip. Like it's the best knurling that I've ever done. And then I have a junior barbell that I bought for my kids when they were younger that didn't get tons of use. But I use that as kind of a curl bar, just a straight curl bar. And then I have the Rogue Easy curl bar, one of those curl bars. So so that's that. Then I have a bunch of plates. So I started off with Rogue bumper plates, black rubber bumper plates. And then I switched over. Rogue makes these beautiful machined steel plates. And they're like my prime joy. Like I love these plates. They're beautiful. They're like this silver steel plate, and it's got black Rogue writing on it. I mean, they're incredible. So I moved to those because I still have the bumper plates, but I'm not doing a ton of CrossFit type of moves where I'm dropping the bar. So if I do a power clean and get the bar here, I'm undoing it and going back down. Like I'm not dropping the bar. So I didn't really need the bumper plates to protect my basement floor. So that's when I went to these beautiful machined steel plates that I've got. Yeah, and then I have two Rogue gun racks, which are basically just barbell holders that go on the wall. So I think it's a 4 rack and a 4 rack. So it got those, or maybe it's 3 and 3. I don't know, but got that. I've got a piece of equipment that I hardly ever use, which is a Rogue chalk stand. So basically, it's like this big black piece of steel, and then the stainless steel bowl on the top where you put a big piece of chalk and you can chalk it. Yeah. The knurling on my bar is so incredible that I just don't even need chalk. And don't use it. That piece of equipment is just decorative in my basement. I've got a Rogue bench that I love. I bought these Rogue collars to put on the barbell to secure the weights that I love. I've got some bands that I use. So Coach Todd got me using some bands. Those are not Rogue, but just sometimes I forgot to say when I do the 10, 8, 6, 4, and then 12. As soon as I'm done with that 12, I also do a set of 12 band work.
Oh, cool!
Like a superset. So that's what the bands are for. I mentioned about the Rogue. I love that medicine ball. I love medicine ball throws. Like Coach Todd introduced me to that, and I love those. So I got a Rogue medicine ball. The plyometric box that I bought is not Rogue, because Rogue has some really cool looking wood ones. But Coach Todd, he said don't buy the wood one because you'll slip. You'll inevitably slip, and you'll bust up your shins and your knees. And so I bought more of a cushioned one.
Yes, amen to that, man. The soft plyo boxes, do not buy a hard plyo box. And everybody listening, do not buy a hard plyo box. My shins look like hell from years of doing hard plyo box jumps. I hate them. They're terrible. Don't do it. They make soft ones they're a little more expensive, but I promise your shins will thank you.
Yeah, for sure. And those words are never so true that he told me what you just said, because I have missed jumps.
Yeah.
And fortunately with the soft box, it's no big deal.
Yep. It's a piece of cake when you miss. Yeah. And the nice thing about the soft boxes is they got 3 different sides to them, so you can turn it. And one's like 16 inches, 20 inches, 24 inches.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you knew what they are. I think I don't know. I'm not even going to guess, but I know there's 3 different heights.
Yeah. It's either 14 or 16, and then 20 and 24. Well, most of them are that way. Some of them go up to like 30. So it just depends on the one that you get. But it's 3 different sizes, 3 different heights, so you can adjust it to fit whatever your needs are.
Yeah. So then let's see what else. The agility ladder, my homemade agility ladder, but I love that.
I love that.
And then the last piece of equipment that I'll rattle off, which is probably one of my favorites. It is this huge black steel Rogue deadlift jack. So basically, have you ever seen one?
Oh, I can't say that I have. I'm Googling it right now.
So basically what it is this when I took some training lessons, I guess. Yeah, I took some lessons in person with a starting strength coach years ago, in person in town here, and she had one of these racks. I'm sorry, one of these deadlift jacks. I'm like, oh, it's amazing. So basically, when you're doing a deadlift and you've got 45-pound plates, rubber bumpers on each side, and sometimes two of them. I never got into a 3-wheel one, but I've done 2-wheel deadlifts.
Yeah.
And so basically, when you're wanting to change weights, you got to go over and you got to lift up one side of the bar,
Yep.
and you kind of got to try to slide weights off while you're lifting the bar. Then you got to do it the other side. So it's a workout in itself while you're in between deadlift sets. I mean, so you're tired from your deadlifts, and then you got to go do this in between. And so this deadlift jack, you just roll the bar into these little handles, and then you just push up on the jack. It's just like on like balancing. You just push it up, and the bar comes off the floor and sits in the jack. You just pull the weights off, put them on, and then you release the jack, and the bar's back on the floor. So it is a beautiful thing and one of my favorite pieces of equipment.
I bet, dude. That's awesome. I see it now, and so now I can say that I've actually seen it, but I don't know that
Sure.
it's ever been called that. So that's cool. That might have to get one of those.
Yeah. It comes in handy.
Certainly makes deadlifting
One of the
easier.
best.
Yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
yes, it does. So
For
that's
sure.
it. Probably not a ton of useful information to everybody to my equipment, but if someone out there is watching that does want to also redefine senior pickleball and get into some strength training and power work, hopefully hearing a little bit of this information helps. And I'm always more than happy to answer any viewer listener questions if someone poses a comment or
Well,
messages us
maybe
or
maybe
whatever.
we'll have to have you post some pictures of some of your stuff, specifically the agility ladder, because I want to see it. You're gonna have to text me a picture. I want to see what you came up with for the agility ladder. So maybe on DH Pickleball on Instagram, you can post some of
Yeah.
these things, and people can see what your setup is. So
Yeah,
that'd be kind of cool.
for sure. Yeah. So it's
Very
good
cool.
stuff, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Okay. All right. So is that? I mean, do you have any other equipment that you didn't list off that you use for it?
No, I don't think so. I think that's but
I think that's it.
I do
Okay.
have a rogue jump rope. I like a speed rope.
Oh, okay.
But
There you
I'm
go.
not doing I do like jump roping. I do, and I'm pretty decent at it. I'm pretty good. I can cross over and
Yeah.
do, double what double under.
Yeah.
I don't
There
know
you
what they're
go.
called.
I
But
can.
yeah, but anyway, but yeah, I'm pretty good. But actually, I haven't worked that into my training. Maybe this summer I'll do that.
Nice, man. That's great.
Yeah,
That's great. Very cool. How long have you had just for my knowledge, how long have you had a setup in your basement for 10 years or more when you started doing it or?
prob- probably about that. Yeah, probably
Oh,
about 10
cool.
years. Yeah.
Dude, that's great. That's great. Yeah. I will say like one of the best investments you can make is getting some equipment like that you can do at home. I mean, I'm a big garage gym guy, home gym guy, and so doing that as an investment specifically for senior pickleball players, right? For seniors, having some stuff that you can do at home. And what's really cool, and then we'll kind of wrap this episode up. We just want to touch
Yeah.
on this gym equipment piece of it. Yeah, do you need to have the barbells? Do you need to have the dumbbells? No, not necessarily. Like David does because he's a badass, right? Like so he needs the heavy weight. He needs the extra weight. But like this, the band work that he was talking about, having a set of bands. There's so much that you can do to mimic all of the strength and conditioning that David does. You can mimic it all with bands. And so there's just a lot that you can do. And so everybody listening, don't feel like you got to go out and buy a bunch of equipment to implement strength and conditioning. You can do it all with body weight. You can do it all with bands. And bands, you can get a set of cheap bands on Amazon for like $50. We'll link some in the description for you guys to check out so you can find some to have an idea of what we're talking about so you can find some. So don't be overwhelmed. I mean, it's definitely something you can do on a budget and as a beginner too.
When I first started doing barbell strength training,
Hmm.
I was going to it was one of those 24-hour franchise gyms. I forget which brand it is, but anyway, doesn't matter. But I was going to one of those, and they did have barbells, which some of those don't even have barbells, but they did have a couple barbells, and they had one power rack. And so
Hmm.
I'm never gonna squat or bench press outside of a power rack because most of the
Hmm.
time I'm just by myself, so I don't have a spotter.
Yep.
So I want those steel safety pins to keep the bar from crushing me if there's any mistake. So the problem was that there was only one power rack in this gym, and I would go there on my lunch hour for work,
Ah.
and if someone was using the power rack, I was screwed, because you can't really work in with someone because they're just on a whole different maybe rep set or weights, and it's just no, you can't really work in. And so yeah, I was kind of screwed. So I'm like, I quickly have to get my home gym equipment just so I don't run into that problem of going to the gym and not being able to train. I would say most of the commercial gyms, all the popular ones out there, the franchise ones, probably have one power rack at most. Now there's black iron gyms and things like that where you can find plenty of them, but most of the common gyms are not going to have it. So that's why I did it. And then, I started thinking, yeah, I did buy some expensive equipment in Rogue. I mean, I did.
Sure.
I wanted something that was the best and highly durable. But really, when I started thinking about like what I spent on that, and then I look at, okay, well, what was I spending every single month for the gym membership?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a bargain to have my own home gym because I've been doing this for 10 years now, where I've
Yeah.
been living at home. So if I would be paying whatever, $100 or more a month, every single month for 10 years, that's a lot of
Yep.
money. Plus, this Rogue equipment, it will last well beyond my death. And
It's true.
I mean, like this stuff
Yeah.
is solid steel, incredible equipment. Like
Yeah.
it's gonna last forever. So the ROI on a home gym, I know sometimes it does seem expensive at first for that investment, but the ROI on that is just outstanding.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. I think that's a perfect way to end this episode on strength and conditioning. Everybody should definitely do it. David, thanks for sharing all that stuff. I mean, it's great to hear what you're doing and how you're pushing the limits of your training so that you can redefine what being a senior pickleball player is, because that's what we're all about here at DH Pickleball Show. See how I did that? That's
Absolutely.
pretty good,
Yes. Love it. Love it. All good.
right? So anyway, hey, thanks everybody for tuning into this week's episode of the DH Pickleball Show. If you want to keep up with David in between episodes, go to DH Pickleball on Instagram. You can check in with him there always, or you can go to dhpickleball.com and just see what's going on over there. To touch base with David, you can always email him, ask any questions or anything like that you have. But for myself, for my good buddy David Henry, DH Pickleball, this has been the DH Pickleball Show, and we will see you in the next episode. Thanks, everybody.